Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society, bringing you our nightly update on the tropical basins across the world. And here on September 9th of 2025, we have nothing. The climatological peak of the Atlantic season is tomorrow, and no tropical cyclone activity is expected during the next 7 days. Weird season, folks. And hey, I'm all for it. If we're going to be here to talk about nothing, let's talk about nothing together because it's getting a wild season. If we look at the ensembles tonight, the Euro legacy doesn't really have much. If we go back to the 0Z, there wasn't much. There hasn't really been much. Maybe a little bit more, but still not much. And this is going out 10 days. As you could see, it would really be no threat to land whatsoever. Even if something does develop out here into the main development region, it would basically be something to watch and something to talk about, but no real threat. If we take a look and compare that to the Euro AI, now the Euro AI certainly has some signal here. As we could see, it has been holding kind of consistent in wanting to develop it, and it's a little bit more clustered together this evening compared to what we've seen over the last couple days. And if it were to develop, it really wouldn't surprise me at all. It is out here in the main development region, but as we could see again, out here into the wide open waters of the Atlantic, at least that's what it looks like now. Keep in mind, the wave hasn't even come off the African mainland yet. So we could sit here and talk about it all we want. But until the wave emerges from the continent and the models get a hold of it, then we'll see what's going on. We've seen quite a few waves exit the African mainland with some model signal this season and never really materialized. 91L being the most recent. So if we compare the Euro and the Euro AI with the GEFS, yeah, there's some signal out here in the main development region. There's also a little bit of a signal back here towards the Western Caribbean, but if we look on the Euro AI, there's not much for corroboration at all. The Euro, on the other hand, it has one little line, and it actually originates from the Eastern Pacific. So it really crosses over Honduras, moves into the Western Caribbean, crosses over portions of Belize, portions of the Yucatan Peninsula and Mexico, back out into the open waters, and it's 2%. Okay, so yeah, take it for what it's worth, 2%. And then if we look here with a couple of these ensemble members with the GEFS, there's our first dog hack of this evening. But with the GEFS, we get approximately 3% for each line. So again, you're looking at about a 10% chance. I would not lose any sleep over it whatsoever. It's just not corroborated by the other models. Not to mention, we got a sad face. Let's hit the refresh on this and see if we can get a happy face. All right. So we're going to look here real quick into the Google DeepMind, and we're going to run it out 3 days, 4 days, day 5, day 6, day 7. As you can see, we've got signal for the Eastern Pacific. We've got, our little wave coming off. Here we are at day 8. We'll go ahead and highlight all this from the Google DeepMind. And as you can see, out into the wide open waters of the central Atlantic. So even the Google DeepMind is in agreement that if we do get something out here into portions of the tropical Atlantic and the main development region, the majority of the thinking and the guidance is going to want to pull it north due to the trough and just the persistent erosion of the western side of the subtropical high pressure out here. So now we're going to run this out a little bit further. We're going to get into day 10, maybe day 11. Notice the one thing that we're missing out here is anything into the Western Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, you've got one dot here, one dot there. That doesn't even concern me at all. I honestly, you just see one dot. I could not care less. That is a 2% chance at that point. I'm not even going to waste our time with that. But as you could see, even though we had that signal with the GEFS, we don't really have much here. So, good news. Now, let's jump into the operational models and the deterministic runs. We have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. These represent our 850 millibar vorticity level. The 850 millibar vorticity level is located approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface, right here, 5,000 feet. Get brighter colors as we go forward if spin is denoted. Now, here we are out, we'll go out 60 hours, and you could see that we do have an area off the southern coast of Mexico noted by both to everything else. The model's up to 60 hours, and we'll just go ahead and start it early. We've got our high pressure here. That ridge is set right about like that. We have our high pressure here, and this ridge is set a little bit like that. So they're in pretty good agreement. We've got a little area of energy right here on the GFS. Not really worried about it. I mean, you've got a spot that is in correlation with the Euro, but they're not really in agreement with their intensities. So let's run this forward, and we're going to continue forward. We're going to get to day 4, day 5. We'll go even all the way to day 6. Now, here's where things start to diverge pretty well. We've got here, we've got a high pressure here. We've got our high pressure here. High here, our high here. We've got a developing low pressure along the trough. We've got our trough that sticks through like so, our trough that sticks through like so. Okay, now the reason that I drew all this out is we still have our waves coming off the main development region. We saw that the AI and things, maybe something develops and runs this periphery of the high pressure. Okay. What is occurring is down here is the GFS over the last few runs have been trying to develop an area of low pressure right where I've got that circle known as the Central American Gyre. So I'm going to leave these lines up. Now we're at day 6, and what we're going to do is we're going to run this forward to day 7. And as I get it to day 7, as you could see, we are starting to get the development of a Central American gyre here, noted by the GFS. Maybe a little bit of area of low pressure trying to develop off of the coast of Belize and Honduras. Folks, let me be very, very clear. The GFS has a known bias down here in this portion of the Western Caribbean. It must be corroborated by the other models. You need coherence. You need agreement. And if we run this forward, we don't have that agreement. Now, as you can see what the GFS does, and I'll show you guys, because everybody, you know, a lot of those folks out there that love to show models with no explanation, there's an area of low pressure. You see it right there. Now, this run doesn't develop anything. Some of the runs before showed a hurricane, you know, or something like that, but it's always into the latter part of the model itself. The Euro does not corroborate the GFS. When it comes to the Central American Gyre, you need the models to agree before you can start to trust it. If the Euro shows it to you, Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could take the euro by itself, a little bit more credible than the GFS by itself when it comes to CAG. GFS is going to rip it up and just spin it up for any damn reason that it can think of. Now, there will be factors into the potential for tropical cyclone development. We do know that we have an absolute load of potential cyclonic energy and sitting there in oceanic heat content sitting into the waters of the Caribbean and the Gulf because no storm has been there so far this season. So what we have here is the euro on the left, GFS on the right, and we have the 500 millibar relative humidity level and the 700 millibar relative humidity level. 500 on the top, 700 on the bottom. Now, so we can kind of get an explanation for folks that may be watching for the first time, 18,000 feet or approximately 3.5 miles above the ocean surface will represent our 500 millibar level, and the 700 millibar level will be representing approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. So this gives us a good idea between that 10 and say, well, even 20,000 feet level. And what we're looking for here is our browns denoting our dry air and our brighter colors in greens and blues denoting our moist air. Now, there is definitely going to be a huge difference by the time we get to the end of this between the two models. So as we run this forward, we can see the 500 millibar level, 700 millibar level. There is an extreme amount of dry air across the entire Atlantic Basin. Honestly, I mean it's crazy. This season is becoming more and more indicative of 2013, and with the wave breaking, you've got kind of a almost a El Nino style atmospheric pattern set up, and it's not, we don't have El Nino conditions, but we've had this persistent East Coast troughing, and if the basin doesn't get its act together soon, it's not going to have time. So here we are out 120 hours. And this is something that we really start to get a divergence in. If you notice, the GFS has our dry air right about here. The euro, on the other hand, has our dry air a little further south. Now, that may not sound like much, but believe me, it is huge. Because you are starting to cap at the northern side of the Yucatan Peninsula and really getting into the Yucatan Channel. So you're separating the Caribbean and the Gulf via dry air and air boundary. Now, if we compare that with the lower levels, obviously closer to the ocean, won't be as dry as getting up further, but there is definitely a difference in the euro calling for this frontal boundary that we have in the dry air to push down a little bit further than what the GFS calls for. That's huge, because if we run this forward, as you can see here, there is too much dry air by the time we get to day 7 down here to really do much for the Central American Gyre. A lot of your energy and you will focus itself out into the Eastern Pacific. Look at the difference here with the GFS and the euro. Now we're out 7 days at this point. There is a massive moisture pocket here stretching from about the central portions of the Caribbean all the way to the Yucatan Peninsula, from South America and Panama all the way to Cuba. So there is a large moisture pocket on the GFS, not so much with the euro. And this is something that we kind of expect, but then look here as we get into the latter portion of the run. You will see almost like a reinforcing shot of dry air pressing down into the Gulf on the GFS. Now, the Euro is also calling for a potential reinforcement of that air, but not anything like what the GFS is calling for. So it's hit or miss right now. But I'm going to lean and have a little bit more tendency to go with the Euro than I am the GFS on this one, because it's just the way that everything has been behaving. And even when we get out to 10 days, now we're the 19th of September. Please keep that in mind here at the 10 days. If these show up with this considerable amount of mid-level and getting even into the lower level dry air, this may offer us a reprieve from some craziness later on in the season. If we can get a good amount of dry air over the Gulf, it's really going to help. Now, on top of the humidity, we have to look at the wind shear. And what these represent, with the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right, these represent our wind values between, and they change with height and our shear, between the 200 and 850 millibar level. Now, a lot of folks would be like, well, that means nothing to me. Well, the 200 millibar level is approximately 39,000 or 40,000 feet. Remember, our 850 is down here at 5,000 feet, at approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. So we're looking at this large column between, say, 5,000 and 40,000 feet above the ocean surface. We want to know how the winds are turning. I slipped that in there. Damn it. Y'all get the surprise tonight. Yes, we're going to look at the dust model. But if we look at the wind shear and how it changes with height, we will note that the Euro and the GFS have some similar solutions. If we look here at around 72 hours, we've got a heavy amount of shear coming across the Caribbean from west to east, not from east to west. And that, even through day 5, stays relevant. Day 6 stays relevant. And if you remember, when we get into about day 7, here comes that little situation with the Central American Gyre. We've got the wind shear. Now, you remember that little bit extra? Just that little bit? Well, look here. Because you've got the winds coming in right here and our low pressure developing right there, off basically right there at we'll say the border of Belize and Honduras. Well, if you look at the Euro has the winds still coming through that exact same area, so you do not get an area of low pressure that is developing there. You get a shear vector. And with this low pressure right here, pulling in even more, trying to reinforce that down at 7 days, you've got a low pressure here that is going to try to push down and reinforce this. I just don't see this happening. Not saying that it can't. I'm not sold on it, for sure. I'm not sold on it at all. That we're going to end up with a CAG scenario. It may be a little bit too early. All right, and for folks, we have brought back out the dust model because of this area of dust here shows up quite clearly on satellite. So we're going to run this forward and show that even though a little bit of it does make it past 40, it helps to keep the atmosphere pretty dry, associated with the wave breaking that we've had from the northeast of the northeastern Atlantic. But look here. This is why I wanted to show this tonight. Look here. We're still getting dust that is arresting everything to at least about 40 degrees west. As you could see, after it gets past 40, it starts to fall apart. But we're knocking things out and keeping this portion of the basin of the eastern tropical Atlantic kind of tamped down with the Saharan air. So you're not allowing the storm to develop the convective activity prior to getting out even further into the tropical Atlantic, which then you are dealing with. If you watch these 500 millibar levels, you will see areas and pockets of dry air from the northeast infiltrate down into portions of the tropical Atlantic. This is a wave breaking scenario. You're dumping a bunch of dry air into a part of the basin, and it's obviously not Saharan dust, but you already had a dry environment from the Saharan dust, and then you're reinforcing it with the wave breaking. And then on top of that, I'll show you the other factor. And I've got some questions for sure. Are we really going to flip the switch on this? I'm not saying that we're not, but I want to say that the main development region of the tropical Atlantic is pretty much done for the United States. I really do. I really, really want to say that. But I know that I got to wait another week or two climatologically to really get there. But I think that the way that it looks is it's looking good as far as those long track storms. We will have to watch off the coast of into the southwestern Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Caribbean, of course. But as far as way out there in the tropical Atlantic, with U.S. threats, I don't think so. I think we're pretty much done with that for the season, and I hope so. So our nightly look at our Madden-Julian oscillation and how it propagates across the world. As we could see, we're right here at about phase 2, phase 3. The models do forecast for this to eventually pop back around and get into our neck of the woods over here. Okay, so how bad? Well, if we look, yesterday we showed these these models, and what this is our 200 millibar vorticity or velocity potential. So as you can see here, right here, 200 millibar level. Oh, Lord have mercy, I did not do that. The 200 millibar level, as we can see here, is approximately, again, 40,000 feet. And I will get my graphics right. I swear I will. I'll get it right here in a minute. We read this by going down the page, or down the graphic in time. As you can see, September 19th, 21st, 23rd, 25th. We, as in U.S., are located pretty much right about from here to about there. So anything in between these two lines right here, we'll just go straight up. That would be the majority of the Gulf, southwestern Atlantic, maybe slide it over a little bit to the right, and the Caribbean. As you can see, these values here are a concern. Now, getting them out here, that's for this portion of the tropical Atlantic. We can deal with this. I'm not worried about that. It's this. This is what concerns me. Now, this is the GEFS, all right? So we just looked at what that shows here on Climate Prediction Center page for the Madden-Julian oscillation. Okay, that's what we're looking at right here, is the GEFS. Well, let's take a look at the euro. The euro yesterday was quite aggressive. Today, maybe not as much. Propagates that oscillation through rather quickly and maybe propagates a suppressive phase in behind it. Still a little bit of leftover remnant as we get into the latter part of September, but as we could see, this area here is what's concerning. Now, also keep in mind that things aren't immediate. So we're not saying that the development conditions and that we should see a storm on September 19th or September 18th or 17th. We're not saying that. What we're saying is that this is an area of atmosphere that will allow for lift to occur. It is not going to be suppressive. You're not going to be sinking air. This is going to be rising air. And this is going to allow for shower and thunderstorm activity to just naturally develop and propagate, which then helps to re-moisten some of the dry air atmosphere that's out there. So there could be some changes with this. And how does it impact going further in and as we get into October? Only time will tell. Now, if we compare this being the euro with the euro's AI, the euro AI wants to propagate this through very, very quickly and then bring back a suppressive phase very, very quickly. So, question, what's going to occur? Is it going to act more like this, where it propagates through quickly? Or is it going to act more like this, to where it may linger along for a little while? That's the $1,000,000 question, because if we can get this suppressive phase like we've got right now, and you look on the GFS, on the GEFS, this is what we're currently dealing with. This has resulted in that. So the question is, can we get this to slide back and anchor over here? That's what we want. That would help keep things suppressed. And you buy us a few more weeks, and these frontal boundaries, as strong as they've been, the season won't last much longer if we keep it up like this. Uh-oh, what happened? Earth Null, why are you sad-faced? Okay. All right, with Earth Null, I did want to show the other factor as to why we are getting what we are getting. What we're looking at here tonight is the 250 millibar level. This is up here. 34,000, 35,000 feet right here. So approximately 6 miles above the ocean surface. Now, I'm going to run this forward. This goes off the GFS. And we're going to run this forward 8 hours at a click. And if you notice, we keep getting these little areas of low pressure right here with this counterclockwise shear flow. I'll take it back to now so you can watch how it propagates, and you'll see exactly how this breaks everything down. So let's go back to now and watch how it propagates in. These little tutlows are creating a shear component. Let me erase this. As you can see, we know we've already got our big time dry air in this region, right? So the wave comes through, tries to come through, goes through all this dry air, and then wham, hits that shear vector. I wish I could read that. Hey, James, Do me a favor, brother. Jump over to YouTube and translate that for me, please. All right, folks. That's about all I've got for the Atlantic, honestly. We've got a brand new global tropics hazards outlook out today, though. And as we could see, I haven't posted this on the page yet. I figured I'd do it in a live and then I'll post it when I'm done. We've got to watch for the Central American Gyre area, September 17th through the 23rd. We also have to watch for the Central America Gyre area, September 24th through September 30th. So, we basically have just been put on notice and been put on watch that we really, really need to keep an eye on the Central American Gyre region through the end of September. Maybe a little bit of development out here into the tropical Atlantic. But these, as we've already noticed, should turn up and exit out away from land. It's these that we have to watch. We don't get much. If we get development out there, we don't have the days and days and days and days to watch it if it was to develop out here. So this, I'm not gonna lie, this kind of sucks. But please, just because we've got that there, don't get too overly worried because these striped areas represent greater than 20 but less than 40 for tropical depression or greater strength. So you're looking at what we've got here is a 20 to 39% chance. So please keep that in mind. Now, we do have for our folks out here into the northern portions of the leewards, getting into the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, southeastern parts of the Bahamas, maybe Turks and Caicos, parts of Hispaniola. This green represents higher than normal rainfall potentials. And if you notice, we keep that on Central America as well. So we will have to keep an eye on the potential for flooding. And also, the Western Pacific is forecast to do something out here and maintain its tropical cyclone activity. All right. We still got the season to go, folks. We're tomorrow's the peak. All right, we're right here. We're right next to it. Tomorrow we're right on it. We've still got the second half of the season to go. So please keep in mind that just because we've hit peak season and we don't see anything, that the season is not necessarily over with. Just stay aware. That's all I ask. Nothing to be overly concerned about with right now. No. So thank you, James. We do not for next week near Puerto Rico, as you could see here, and I can pull this right into the Caribbean. We do not have, if development were to occur, it would pull to your north as to what the models are calling for right now. I will confirm that with you with the Euro AI. Puerto Rico stays clean. The Euro Legacy, Puerto Rico stays clean. And all of these are out 10 days. And if we run this forward on the Google DeepMind, nothing. I mean, you get one that maybe gets in there, but you're so far out into time, no. So right now, next week, No, no, sir. No development. Um, no development near Puerto Rico at all. So, good news. Though you may see some increase in rainfall as noted by the Climate Prediction Center for week of September 17th through September 23rd. As you can see here, you are located in that green, and that green has a greater than 65 but lower than 80% chance of receiving above average rainfall. So that you're looking at a high probability of increased shower and thunderstorm activity, which could lead to localized flash flooding. All right. Oh, James, if you can work that one out for me there, brother. Um, I can say though, Puerto Rico right now, at least for the next 7 days, you're good to go. You are definitely good to go. And you've got a little wave of shower and thunderstorm activity that is in your region right now, but it is not tropical. This is just shower and thunderstorm activity. That's all. Nothing tropical. All right. If anybody else has any questions, has there ever been a year that we haven't had a storm hit somewhere on our side? Yes, Amanda, there has been quite a few years that we haven't had anything significant, and hopefully, and look, maybe fingers crossed that this year will be everybody kind of gets in on that, where we don't have anything significant. That's what I'm really hoping for. I don't want anybody to get hit this year. I mean, that would be an absolute dream. Okay, getting out here into the Eastern Pacific, as you can see, we definitely have an area of rotation and spin out here south of Central America, south of the Gulf of Tehuantepec as well. That currently has a 40% chance of development over the next 48 hours and an 80% chance of development over the next 7 days. It has not been declared an area of invest yet. So we don't have a lot on it. We've got the ensembles, and we'll show that here in a second. And some positive trends may be occurring with that as well. Looking at Tropical Storm Kiko, barely holding on. The shear component with Kiko, and I will show it to you. We'll go to now. We'll come down to the surface. We will put our trusty green circle on Kiko, jump 6 miles up, and as you can see, bang. These winds were stronger than what was previously forecast and has subsequently separated the mid-level and the surface circulation with height. As you can see, all the shower and thunderstorm activity is firing off here well to the north of the center of circulation. Kiko's not looking good. Might have been a formidable annular storm, but it took something like that to get this up this high still in this condition. So if it wouldn't have gone annular, it wouldn't be like this at all. Oh, wait a minute. Our public advisory on this. We are currently at 22.9 north, 154.9 west, approximately 220 miles north of Hilo, Hawaii, and approximately 220 miles east-northeast of Honolulu. Maximum sustained winds are down to 40 miles an hour, continuing to move west-northwest at 14 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure of 1,008 millibars. Interest in the Hawaiian Islands should monitor the progress of it because of the fact that you currently have high surf advisories, though there are no coastal watches or warnings in effect. And as you can see for the key messages, it is for the high surf. Taking a look at the cone, maybe, we'll just hit the refresh on that. As you can see, it is forecast to move well north of the island with all of the shower and thunderstorm activity displaced to the north. So it does look like that this is going to pass by pretty much, unfortunately, not getting any rain, which they need. Seriously, they do need a little bit of rain in Hawaii. So it is unfortunate. We didn't want anything significant, but it would have been nice to get a few showers. Um, but it doesn't look like it's materializing that way, though. We'll wait and see and hope for the best. If we look at the forecaster's discussion, this is going to be critical because we have right here, by 48 to 60 hours, moderate to strong shear returns, and the system should continue to weaken, lose all convection, and eventually open into a trough, dissipating by the end of the forecast period. The latest NHC forecast follows these weakening trends and lies near the consensus intensity aids. It is noted that if Kiko does not produce organized convection as soon as the models show, the system may become post-tropical earlier than officially forecast. We may only have one more live on this. And the reason is, if we look at the multi-model guidance on this, currently Kiko is dealing with this high level of shear in between 30 and 40 knots of shear. This shear is forecast to plummet as Kiko gets near the lower level winds of the upper level low feature. As this continues to move in, these winds will reduce. Okay. But when it passes through that, it's dealing with the winds here now. It's going to cross through like this, and then it's going to get hit from the other side. So I want you to picture this. The storm with height stretches up into the atmosphere. All right, we're just going to get a line and we're going to draw it like this. Right now, because the winds are coming out of the southwest, it has taken the circulation and it is something like this, to where the mid-level is not vertically aligned with the lower level. Well, you've got that southwesterly shear that is hitting it. The mid-level is off to the north. Then you're going to turn around and hit it going back this way. That storm's dead. I cannot stress this enough. That storm is dead. It is going to expose its mid-level circulation to the full frontal force of that shear, and it is done. Done. It's over. As you can see, the sea surface temperatures begin to rebound a little bit. The mid-level humidity may try to rebound a little bit, but the intensity plummets. So we may have one more night at Kiko. Maybe two. But that's about it. Although we do have, and we'll hit the refresh on it so people can see, we still have tropical storm warnings out into the international waters surrounding the islands, plus a high surf warning in the beaches that face the storm. If we look at the models and the ensembles, we do have a little bit of better news. We do have the storm trying to continue out this way and not necessarily so much of a signal this way. And we also have Kiko here. That goes out 10 days. We're definitely going to have to watch the southern coast here of Mexico. We're going to compare that with the Euro's AI. And as we can see, the Euro AI has a couple that want to bring it up in here, but the majority of the track brings it out like this. That is the, higher confidence of the probability there. If we compare that with the GEFS wants to take it way out and hardly any opportunity to bring it back and then say goodbye to Kiko. And yes, you see scratch marks all through this, but that's little areas of vorticity that develop along the monsoon trough in the intertropical convergence zone all the time anyway. Now, remember we took a look at Google DeepMind. We got a sad face again. We will unsad face. And if we run it forward, this, I mean, as you could see, we'll get it up here. It's a little close. You know, if we get a developing system out here that has some type of power, we may end up with some, you know, maybe some peripheral watches associated with it. We'll have to see. But I do expect this one to go, for sure. We get something to watch at least. And last but not least, we have a tropical cyclone in the southern hemisphere. We have our third one of the season. I'm glad we've covered all three of them so far. As you can see, it currently is a tropical storm. We don't have a name on it yet, but it is forecast to eventually weaken as it gets a little closer to the equator itself. Drops below 10 degrees and then it just kind of starts to fall apart a little bit slowly. You know, it won't be long. It will not be long. When one season ends, another season begins. It's the way it always works, especially across the world. All right. I am going to check back now. Rainfall totals. Let's see here. Yes, I know, Amanda. It drives me crazy that I do not have my daughter sitting right next to me. But, you know, she's so busy. That child is we are, I will say this, we are trying to schedule a opportunity for her to maybe run a live, although she only has Saturday nights available. So I'm trying, fingers crossed, that we may be able to get her scheduled in for maybe this Saturday. It's not a guarantee. I wasn't going to say anything, but you asked. We have been talking about it. So, you know, we'll certainly see what we can do there and see if we can't get her back in at least the seat. She would be running the live from her place. So that would be interesting. Dad would either be in chat or honestly, I mean, Dad would probably be outside doing something because it is evening time. So, all right, everybody. Jonathan, sit your feathered self down, sir. Just don't get your feathers ruffled. Don't get your feathers ruffled. You're gonna end up getting plucked. You Peking duck, buddy. Fried crispy skin. All right, everybody. We're going to go ahead and shut it down for tonight. We will be live tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central here on Facebook and YouTube. Joel, I know James got to everything there on YouTube. I'm also going to reach out to a couple people and get them to jump over to YouTube to assist with the translation of that, and we'll make sure that we get all the questions answered there. So until then, folks, have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you tomorrow night. Have a great night.